Here are some of the headlines we are featuring today from your favorite news outlets at offthepress.com. Emails dating back to Joe Biden's tenure as vice president show that he used private accounts to forward or discuss government business with his son Hunter, whose international business dealings helped enrich the Biden family. The abuse of marijuana and hallucinogens, as well as binge drinking, reached all-time highs among Americans ages 35 to 50, according to a new report from the National Institutes of Health. After shunning any responsibility for failing to activate warning sirens during the devastating Lahaina wildfires, the administrator of Maui County Emergency Management has finally resigned. And Project Veritas, known for its groundbreaking investigative journalism and sting operations, reportedly is on the verge of collapse after laying off much of its staff this week. This comes just months after the company forced out its founder, James O'Keefe. For stories like these and more updates all day long from your favorite news outlets, go to offthepress.com.
Everyone, welcome to Stinchfield. You know, everything the Democrats touch, they destroy. I got this idea from my friend, the great radio host, Dennis Prager. He was talking about how literally anything Democrats get involved with, they ruin it. From cities and towns to the military, you name it, they destroy it. Okay, so I thought it would be fun tonight to see just how bad of a shape America is in, to go through all the things that the Democrats are destroying as they put their grubby mitts on these things. Medicine is at the top of the list because our health depends on this stuff. All you have to do is look at their response to the COVID-19 virus, the mandates. They are now telling doctors how to perform medicine. If you don't get on board with what the FDA says, the CDC says, the state medical board says, they're not letting individual doctors doctor. They're ruining medicine. Now, how do I know this? I saw this clip, it's a little older, but it's worth playing, from the University of Columbia University in New York, where my great uncle was head of orthopedic surgery. He would be rolling over in his grave if he heard the new Hippocratic oath that Columbia Med School students are taking.
We also recognize the acts and systems of oppression affected in the name of medicine. We take this oath of service to begin building a future grounded in truth, restoration, and equity to fulfill medicine's capacity to liberate. I promise to take care of my future patients by engaging in dialogue, listening to their lived experience, and tailoring my recommendations to their unique circumstances.
Equity, inclusion in medicine. She's there running down this thing with a mask on. Those are the last people I want going anywhere near me if I'm sick. What else do the Democrats ruin? They ruin the economy. Everybody out there can see that right now. We got inflation through the roof. But do you know how they ruin it? They ruin it through uncertainty. And I say this because when Democrats get in charge, whether it's at a state level or at a federal level, Business owners don't know what's coming next. It was Obamacare. Oh my God, what am I going to have to pay for health insurance for my employees? All of the regulations. Now they go down this road of climate change. You don't know what's going to hit you. So as a business owner, you don't know if it's right to invest or not. So you sit on the sidelines. It kills an economy. Just listen to BlackRock CEO Larry Fink.
Well, behaviors are going to have to change, and this is one thing we're asking companies. You have to force behaviors, and at BlackRock we are forcing behaviors. 54% of the incoming class are women. We added 4 more points in terms of diverse employment this year, and what we are doing internally is if you don't achieve these levels of impact, your compensation could be impacted. Okay.
This is ridiculousness. BlackRock owns so many companies. I mean, they're one of the biggest investors in America's biggest companies. And they're worried about all of this stuff, how much diversity they have, the climate change agenda. They have one goal and one goal only. They should. That's to make money and make money for their shareholders. And you do it by treating your customers. You don't have to go down all of this other crazy nonsense. So you add all of this together, and what do? You get lies, right? They push you. They gaslight you, the Democrats. Watch this.
I really doubt that we're going to see an inflationary cycle.
Most economic analysts believe that it will have a temporary or transitory impact.
The faster than expected increase in some of those prices is actually a good sign.
The overwhelming consensus is going to pop up a little bit and then go back down. No one's talking about this great,
This is something that will settle down.
Transitory.
None of it's settling down. Transitory inflation. We still have inflation here. It looks like it's on the rise. They literally look the American people in the eye and they lie to you. That's how you ruin a nation, by not being able to trust its leaders anymore. And sadly, we got a leader who's a Democrat in the Oval Office, a socialist, really. Then you add in what the left does to families. Well, nothing ruins families more than Planned Parenthood. Planned Parenthood destroys families. They're killing off the kids before they're even born. What about the BLM Marxists that said, you know what, we need to do away with the Western nuclear family structure? They don't want fathers anymore. All you have to do is look at our schools. Our schools want to take control of our children. They're now calling them our children. They're not our children. Your kids are your kids. My kid is my kid. Get your grubby mitts off. They want to take away any control the parent has on these children. And then, of course, you add what happens in California. California has this reparations task force. They're now saying that they are going to do away with child support if you're black. Now, look at this headline up here. This sums it up. California Reparations Task Force calls for eliminating child support for black residents. Talk about enabling and encouraging young black men to leave the household. Now there's no punishment for it if you don't pay child support. Your kids should be your responsibility. Well, all of this adds into a war on God. They hate religion. And you take religion out of the household, you take religion out of schools, the entire family unit destructs. Which brings us to our great American cities, at least once great American cities. You know, I do radio in Los Angeles. That was once a great American city. So was Baltimore. So was Detroit. So was St. Louis. So were many cities, all run by liberals. And what are they doing? They're destroying them. You see the smash and grab robberies going all over the place. This is disgusting. Why? Because there's no cops. Think about this. No cops, okay? No justice in these cities, no putting these criminals in jail, and literally they want to defund the police. They still secretly want to do this, by the way. Roll it.
It is outdated. It is wrong-headed thinking to think that the only way you're going to get communities to be safe is to put more police officers on the street.
So yes, defund your butts. Defund you.
We do need to reimagine how we are dispatched to these scenes in terms of what tool to bring.
Again, what I mean by defund the police is not take all funds from the police. It is a reduction of the funding going into the police department.
They are talking about reducing the allocation of resources to that department.
You see what I'm saying? This is absolute lunacy. So think about the left-wing lunacy so far. We've got no cops. We've got your kids should be deciding whether they get a sex change or not, and they want abortion up to the moment of birth. It doesn't get any more insane than that. That's today's Democrat Party, folks. Freedoms are ruined. We know the First Amendment's been ruined. We've seen what's happened on social media. All of you are probably censored, shadow banned like I am on so many platforms. You've got the war on guns. What makes sure that we have our freedoms today is making sure that we have an armed citizenry to stick up against a tyrannical government. They want to take our guns away. A fair trial is non-existent, especially in D.C. The January 6ers are proof of that. Any portion of the judicial system that is touched by Democrats has now been destroyed. All you have to do is look at what is going on with President Trump and those around him. Cut 14.
You look at this indictment and every call, every tweet, every speech seems to be a separate criminal act that composes this conspiracy. That raises really troubling questions as to the criminalization of the challenges to election. Even in this election, you had people like Mark Elias for the Democratic Party after these acts alleged that voting machines in New York were the cause of flipping an election and challenging that election. Was that a crime? Of course it wasn't. So it's a very troubling indictment.
Critical thinking skills are gone. They want to charge President Trump, in this case, anybody else now, for making tweets about telling you to watch TV. This is where we go, because if you ask questions about something a Democrat does, now you're a criminal for doing it. They've destroyed the justice system. So Democrats are literally destroying America as we know it. They're doing it from within. And the biggest thing they've destroyed is American sovereignty. They don't want us to be in control anymore. It's why they've opened up our borders. It's why you see Joe Biden embracing the United Nations, the World Health Organization, the World Economic Forum with Klaus Schwab, who I believe really is a globalist evil villain. They are the enemy from within. Klaus Schwab, use your own words. You listen to him and you tell me they're not enemies.
Fourth industrial revolution is coming with enormous speed and will change not only what we are doing, but who we are. The world will grow more together in the digital age. We are becoming more interdependent. We will have not less, we will have more globalization. But the question is, how do we master and how do we construct this new type of globalization?
No, you're not getting that globalization, okay? Because we're staying here. We're going to shut down the borders as soon as President Trump gets into office, and we're taking back our country. I give you this monologue to let you see how ridiculous they are and to show you how important it is that we take back our country. Here's why I have great faith in America, because we have so many patriots out there willing to fight for this country, including throw pizza over the fence at Gracie Mansion in New York City. Remember that? My friend Scott Lebedo, the patriot artist. He is a great activist. He is a great supporter of police, and he is a great friend of mine. Scott, welcome to the program.
Hey, my friend, you're lucky you're live, because I got a lot of words that I want to spread out there. But I'm going to be okay.
Well, why don't you just take it? Don't curse this time like you did the last time.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. I'm going to be good. Anyway, let me backtrack before we get into what I got to talk about. This whole thing with Donald Trump. People, you just nailed it. Like, everybody's starting to understand these globalists, the Schwabs, the Soroses. These people are going to take over and destroy America from within, from without and within. They have the help with those in this administration, on all of these woke rules on the left who are destroying everything. They have their help. But people need to understand, and they have to listen to what I'm saying here. You don't have to like Donald Trump. You don't have to love Donald Trump in this situation. You need to like and love yourself. See, you people, you independents that are on the fence, you need to jump off that effing fence and pick a side and be on the right side of history. Yeah. And you rhinos, you Republicans against Trump, because of this man. You just don't like this man's personality. You need to understand he's the only. Why is he being destroyed? These indictments every week? Because he does not. He is the only one that does not answer to the George Soroses and the globalists. That's why they hate him all. He's the only man that can put us back on track. DeSantis is wonderful. Haley's wonderful. Scott's wonderful. Their swamp will eat them alive. With life preservers, they will drown. Trump owns that swamp. People got to stop biting their nose to spite their face and realize this is about their life. It's not about Trump.
Well, as everyone can see, this is why Scott is my very good friend, because this is what I say all the time. He's the only man that we have to win right now. He has to win in order to show the left you can't act like this anymore. And I believe he will win. I want to bring this back, though, now to the destruction of America. New York City, I don't like to tell a lot of people, but it is my hometown. It's where I grew up, right outside of New York City. That city is a shell of what it was when I grew up in and around New York. It's been destroyed. And I want to remind everybody, Scott, you tell me if I'm wrong. There is not one Republican or conservative who had a say in where that city is headed in the last 10 years. Not one Republican has had a say in where it goes, correct?
It's the stupidity and the loss of true New Yorkers. The true New Yorker, these people vote for the same jackasses that destroy their communities, and they keep voting for the same ones. I can't stand Adams and de Blasio and these politicians, but it's not their fault that they're such jackasses and haters of this country and this once great city. It is the people, the ignorant, stupid people in the city. Stupid. I will call you, my fellow New Yorker, stupid, because you are so, I can't emphasize it. You are destroying your own city. You watch it every single day. These migrant shelters with these illegal immigrants. I have been battling with Curtis Slewa. He got arrested in Queens the other day. We got one this Sunday for Staten Island because they're putting them in an old nursing home. They kicked out those people, our own homeless people, to put these illegal young men, young age men of fighting age that should be in their country fighting their regime. Yeah. They show you the pictures on the liberal media outlets with the woman crossing a river holding the baby like it's in a movie. That's not what's coming here. Yeah. Listen, if I see somebody, I don't care who it is, who needs food or a jacket, I don't care if they came here from Somalia and they're one of these, I'll give them my jacket. We're not animal. They try to make us look like we're inhumane. The inhumanity lies with the Bidens and everybody else on the left, these sanctuary city enthusiasts. They need to put these people in Central Park, where all of these woke-ass enthusiasts of sanctuary cities, they live. Not in the working class neighborhoods. It's not going to happen. We got a rally this Sunday and next Sunday.
You know what you could do? You could just walk around New York City and ask people if they're willing to take one into their home, and I bet you get a big NO on everyone you ask, and you'll expose the hypocrisy right there.
Every day, when we have people from the other side that come and, oh, you're inhumane, you're racist. Come over here. Tell me where you live, and we'll bring a handful to your house, and they walk away. Every single one of them. They are hypocrites. They are bleeding heart. Look at me, love me, whether it's the environment or this stuff or criminals' rights, and they all get the hell beat out of them, and they sit there and take it. It's blows your mind. But people like me and Curtis and John Tobacco, we are fighting every day, and we're getting people in the street. And finally, people are coming out in droves. And we will do it again this Saturday in Staten Island. Follow my Instagram and Twitter, folks, to get involved.
All right. Give them the address. Scott Lebedo, what's the address?
Scott Lebedo is my name on Twitter and on Instagram, at Scott Lebedo. That's where I post every protest, every minute, every rally.
You, my friend, are the reason why I have great hope for this country, and I know we will not be destroyed by these evildoers. So you keep up the fight. Anything I can do to help you, not a chance. Scott Lebedo, thank you very much, buddy. Enjoy the weekend.
Love you, brother. You keep fighting as well.
Absolutely. Every day. You know what's funny, folks? He's in New York City, and I tell people this all the time. I'm in Texas, where we have conservatives. We love freedom. We'll fight for freedom. New Yorkers and Texans actually have a lot in common. Nobody understands this. We're brash. We're brazen. We believe we're the best, okay? But New Yorkers have faltered because New Yorkers have turned their back on their country. This is what's happened in many liberal cities across this nation. They've turned their back on the ideals that made this country great. You can be brash and bold and pull yourself up by your bootstraps and make it there, make it anywhere. Start acting like Texans. You want to do that? Bring that message across the country. This country will be in great shape. All right, Biden officials are trying to change the narrative around Joe's Afghanistan withdrawal disaster. We'll get to that as the anniversary is coming up next week. Well, can you imagine we're coming up on the 2-year anniversary of the deaths of those service members in Kabul, Afghanistan, and that disastrous withdrawal, thanks to Joe Biden and the idiots that was running the military at the time. 13 people were killed. You would think our illustrious commander-in-chief would want to meet with those family members on the anniversary, but apparently not.
Do you think President Biden is willing to meet with any of these Gold Star families or talk publicly more about what happened at Abbey Gate 2 years ago?
He certainly has talked about Afghanistan and the decision to withdraw and the evacuation and how it was conducted. We have conducted after-action reports. We've shared information with Congress and the public to the degree that we can. The President and the First Lady continue to grieve with all the Gold Star families, especially those who were killed in that terrible day at Abbey Gate.
You know, as we talk about the problem with Democrats is they never want to take responsibility for their own actions. They never will apologize for when something really goes south and is tragic and horrible as getting 13 members of our military killed. They will never, ever, ever acknowledge that they made a mistake. Listen to this, cut 10.
Look, I think Central Command, who was the overarching military command, did a pretty exhaustive investigation of this, Jake, and they determined that barring any decision that could have impacted mission success, there wasn't much that could be done to prevent that attack from coming, as tragic as it was.
This makes me so angry because it absolutely could have been prevented. One, we never should have pulled out the way we did. We never should have given up Bagram Air Base. There are reports that snipers had a line, had a sight on the suicide bomber. No order or approval to take that suicide bomber out. There were others who asked for guidance at the time, saying, this is getting out of control. What should we do? And you know what they got? Crickets. Nothing. We know they pulled these service members in far too close to leave them very vulnerable to one attack to take out all 13 of them. And again, as I mentioned, they never should have been there. But yet, none of that matters to a guy like Joe Biden. Remember this.
Now some say we should have started mass evacuation sooner. And couldn't this have been done in a more orderly manner? I respectfully disagree. Imagine if we'd begun evacuations in June or July, bringing in thousands of American troops and evacuating more than 120,000 people in the middle of a civil war. There still would have been a rush to the airport, a breakdown in confidence and control of the government.
This guy, I'll tell you what, you know, when you call yourself president of the United States, when you hold the office of president, it often is supposed to come with some kind of respect. I have zero respect for this man. Not only is he an idiot, but he is evil because he could have prevented this. Listen to the families of some of the fallen. This one lost her daughter-in-law, Sergeant Nicole Lee. Listen to her with the idea that this was some kind of a success, as Biden calls it.
So to call it a success is an ultimate disrespect for the very people that deserve every ounce of respect that we can give them. That day, there were 13 avoidable deaths of our service members, 30 plus critically wounded warriors who have our hearts. These young men and women came back bigger patriots than they left. I don't know how that's possible.
She lost her daughter-in-law, Sergeant Nicole G. Now, does Joe Biden even look at a soundbite like that? Does he listen to them? I don't want him watching soundbites. I want these parents in the Oval Office talking to him, getting an apology from him. As I said, it's not going to happen. Joining me now is the former Washington Examiner reporter and current investigator on the House Foreign Affairs Committee's Afghanistan program, as well as the co-author of the new book that's out, Kabul, The Untold Story of Biden's Fiasco and the American Warriors Who Fought to the End. Jerry Dunleavy is with us. Jerry, welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me.
Jerry, between your book and the work you're doing for the House committee that's investigating the botched withdrawal, what do you make? How bad was it?
Well, you know, let me just say I am currently helping lead the Afghanistan investigation for House Foreign Affairs. Chairman McCall is very serious about this investigation. I'm just going to be talking in my personal capacity as the author of the book. But, you know, I'm glad that you played some of the clips that you did, especially that clip from John Kirby, who was the Defense Department's press secretary at the time of this withdrawal. You know, he said this week that the CENTCOM investigation showed that the Abbey Gate bombing wasn't preventable. But something I think a lot of people probably don't know is that that CENTCOM investigation did not interview Marine Sergeant Tyler Vargas Andrews, who has testified to Congress that he and the other Marines received a detailed description of the impending suicide attack, got a description of the bomber, Tyler believed that he had spotted the likely bomber in the crowd, asked for permission from his commanding officer to take the shot. And his commanding officer said that he didn't have permission to give Tyler to take the shot and didn't know who did. And then, of course, the suicide bomber disappeared into the crowd. And another important thing to keep in mind here, there were a lot of reasons that it was very stupid to give up Bagram. Bagram would have been a much safer place to conduct an evacuation, would have made it much more likely we could have gotten out the Americans and Afghan allies that President Biden left stranded. But another thing is that the terrorist, his name is Abdul Rahman al-Aghari. He was a member of ISIS-K. He's the one that carried out the Abbey Gate attack. He was in jail at Bagram. He was in jail still when we abandoned Bagram in July 2021. He was freed by the Taliban on August 15th, 2021, about 2 years ago. If we had simply maintained Bagram, not only would it have been a much safer evacuation, a much more effective one, but the terrorist who killed those 13 Americans, wounded dozens of Americans, killed 200 Afghans, would have been sitting behind bars rather than being free to and successfully attack and kill Americans.
Jerry, we let go of the terrorists that ultimately killed our American service members. We let go of all of this equipment that we now know has fallen back in the hands of our enemies and other terror groups. Is that correct?
I mean, that's exactly correct. At Bagram, the base that President Biden and his decision-making led to us abandoning had something like 2,000 members of ISIS-K, dozens of members of al-Qaeda, and hundreds or thousands of Taliban fighters. And the first thing that the Taliban did when they took Bagram was open those doors and free those ISIS-K terrorists. And President Biden liked to talk about, when we were relying on Taliban then to provide security at Kabul airport, he liked to talk about how ISIS-K and the Taliban were mortal enemies. And so the implication being that we can trust the Taliban to prevent an ISIS-K attack. Well, it's a funny thing for mortal enemies to free their enemies from jail and let them loose. And the important thing to keep in mind is that ISIS-K and the Taliban might be at each other's throats in Afghanistan, but they had a bigger enemy in us. And relying on the Taliban to provide security at Kabul airport was a massive mistake. And I think that it contributed to the chaos and the devastation and the death there.
Well, clearly, when it comes to these so-called holy warriors, America is the big Satan. We're the enemy number one. And no matter how much hatred they may have for these internal groups, they want us no matter what. Through all of your research, have you been able to tie any warnings to Joe Biden that this was going to go south? Did he actually know that there was a strong possibility this was not going to work?
Absolutely. Absolutely. The U.S. military leadership and the top generals in this country all told President Biden that if he did what he did, which is rapidly withdraw without any conditions all U.S. troops from Afghanistan, without coming up with a plan, by the way, to get Americans out, without coming up with a real plan to get our Afghan allies out, without coming up with any plan to make sure that an already very shaky Afghan military could keep fighting. Because remember, pulling out U.S. troops also meant pulling logistics and contractors and support and ISR, all things that the Afghan military, which again was very weak, but relied upon. And we basically kicked the legs out from a shaky Afghan military, almost ensuring their defeat. All of these generals told Biden if he did this, it would be a disaster. And he did it anyway. And, he also chose to do this right in the middle of Afghan fighting season. Biden wanted to pick September 11th, 2021, the 20th anniversary of 9/11, as some sort of symbolic date in his mind. But all that he did was pick a time when the Taliban would be at its most effective on the battlefield. And what picking that date meant is that the group that harbored al-Qaeda on 9/11 was then back in charge of Afghanistan on the 20th anniversary.
Look, I don't claim to be any kind of a great expert on all this stuff, but I've covered it an awful lot. I didn't have to be a great expert to tell you that date is so significant for these evil terrorists that would like nothing more than to march every one of us out to the ocean and lop our heads off. And the fact that Joe Biden doesn't understand that, to me, is absolutely sickening. I urge people to read your book. I appreciate the work you're doing inside the United States Congress for Republicans, too. I know you're here on a personal level, but this investigation is really important, and we're not going to forget about it. So please keep us posted, Jerry, if you would.
Absolutely. You know, the investigation is very serious. McCall is very serious about this. We're going to get answers and accountability.
Absolutely. Jerry Dunleavy, I appreciate you coming on the program. Thank you so much. And I urge people to go out and get his book as well. All right, folks, coming up after the break, the government is looking to lock up the head of the Proud Boys for 33 years for January 6th. Wait, I thought the Proud Boys was a racist group. If the head of it's black, he wasn't even at the Capitol that day. 33 years? Talk about it when we come back. Welcome back, everyone. We continue our January 6th coverage. I want you to take a look at Enrico Tarrio. Enrique Tarrio is the leader of the Proud Boys, or was. That's him there. Now, if you may remember, the mainstream media points the Proud Boys as one of the most racist groups out there. They're supposed to be white supremacists, but apparently the leader is a black man. Well, he is about to get 33 years in prison for being convicted of seditious conspiracy when it comes to January 6th. Now, here's the problem. Enrique Tarrio was not even at the Capitol. Now, his buddy Stuart Rhodes was another leader of the Proud Boys. He got 18 years. And again, These guys weren't even there. But here's my confusion when it comes to the prosecution of these two for seditious conspiracy. They basically make it out that these two plotted the whole thing, the entire January 6th event. Well, if these two plotted it, what was President Trump's role? I thought the left says President Trump is the one that sent everybody in there. So did President Trump send everybody in there, or did these guys send everybody in there? The reality is nobody sent anybody in there. You had a bunch of people there that got ginned up by, I believe, bad actors on January 6th. And now you got a government that's out of control going to hang everyone out to dry. There are certain of the bad actors that deserve a little punishment. Certainly not 33 years, not 18 years, not 32 months like John Strand, who we talked to yesterday, for walking around the Capitol. Even the worst of the bunch doesn't deserve the years and years and years that they're getting. Many of them are already in there for over 2 years. When you look at the rioters during the summer of 2020 into 2021, they got nothing at all. Let me remind you, this is the Capitol Police Chief talking about how Nancy Pelosi didn't even call in the National Guard.
That requires me to go and get approval for bringing in National Guard or federal assistance in advance. I have to go to the Capitol Police Board and get approval from congressional leadership in advance, like I did on January 3rd. I'm denied twice because of optics and because the intelligence didn't support it. So think about that.
Let me ask you, who made that decision? Who denied you?
I was denied by Paul Irving, House Sergeant Arms, and also Mike Stenger, Senate Sergeant Arms.
And who do they
on January 3rd.
Who do they work for?
It would have been working for Pelosi on the House side. That Pelosi was the number one boss, and then McConnell on the Senate side.
Isn't that funny? If anyone deserves to be punished for what happened on January 6th, it would be Nancy Pelosi, maybe Mitch McConnell too. We know he has no love lost for President Trump. All of it's disgusting, and I believe Marjorie Taylor Greene when she says this.
The federal government should never be weaponized against the people and set up honeypots and traps to draw people in and actually take part in making these people commit crimes and then framing the people to set up a narrative against a president. It's wrong. And I believe that's what happened on January 6th.
I believe in many of the cases, she's 100% correct. In fact, the evidence supports that theme. And yet, none of these defendants can get a fair trial in Washington, D.C. with the jury pools tainted and the prosecutors out for blood. Turning to Joe Biden now, I want to tell you about, what did we tell you last night? He used fake names on emails as vice president to hide his connections to Ukraine and Hunter Biden and even his son, Beau Biden. Hundreds of those suspicious activity reports, the deposits at the banks, remember that? You got the ties to Ukraine, the ties to China, ties to Romania, ties to Russian oligarchs, $1 million payments flying around left and right. There's 10% for the big guy, a lot of it caught on tape. There's the whistleblowers that says this stuff never ends, that he was on the phone 20 times with Hunter Biden, with many of these business leaders. And yet the Democrats are standing by Joe Biden, insisting that he's innocent of everything. Cut 7.
They've done a pitiful job of trying to make any case that something untoward has happened and that somebody needs to be impeached or held accountable, like the President of the United States. There is zero evidence linking President Biden personally to anything, and there's zero evidence of political interference.
Zero evidence. First of all, I just ticked you off a whole list of evidence. Don't forget, yesterday we talked about the emails, fake names that are CCing Hunter Biden about phone calls with Poroshenko, the then president of Ukraine, and Vice President Joe Biden. Why would Hunter Biden be included in that unless there was monkey business going on? We know all the lies. Joe Biden and his henchmen are like abusers, like wife beaters. Deny, 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 deny. I'll leave you with KJP, Karine Jean-Pierre, the president's spokesperson. Listen.
They keep turning up documents and witnesses showing that the president wasn't involved, never discussed these business dealings, and did nothing wrong. There's been zero evidence showing otherwise, and so that's what we have seen over the past several months. That's what we have seen over the past several years, so I'll leave it at that.
Zero evidence. They've confirmed there's $3.5 million payment from a Russian oligarch, and then she's off of the sanctions list. while Joe Biden was vice president. $83,000 a month to Hunter Biden while Joe Biden's meeting with the president of Ukraine. $83,000 from a Burisma Ukrainian energy. The evidence goes on and on and on. You've heard it all before. This is what you get, though, from them. All lies, lies, all lies. Folks, listen to me. As you know, our world can change at a moment's notice. We are currently on the brink of economic collapse. It is scary. But if you don't think you need emergency food right now, wait a day and see what happens. Just don't wait too long. Because as I speak, PrepareWithRav.com is offering a huge discount on their best-selling 3-month emergency food kit. For a limited time, you'll save 25% per kit. That's the biggest discount they offer, but it doesn't come along every day, and it won't last long. So do yourself a favor. Grab your 25% discount on each 3-month emergency food kit you need. It includes delicious breakfast, lunches, dinners, snacks, and more, providing over 2,000 calories a day. Get at least one kit per person in your family. That's important. Grab your 25% discount today before this offer expires. You get fast free shipping too. Go to preparewithrav.com. Preparewithrav.com. All right, coming up next, folks, another GOP hopeful getting into the presidential race. We'll talk to him about why he's taking on the big dog, President Trump, the guy that I support, President Trump. That's next. Well, folks, next week is the big debate. No word yet on if President Trump will be there. There's talk about him maybe doing an interview with Tucker Carlson instead. I think he should hold a massive rally on the night of the debates. Ron DeSantis's memo was leaked to the press. about how he should handle himself in the debate. DeSantis' debate memo urges him to hammer Ramaswamy and defend President Trump. Real quick, look at this. It says attack Joe Biden and the media 3 to 5 times. State positive vision 2 to 3 times. Hammer Vivek Ramaswamy in a response. Defend Donald Trump in absentia in response to a Chris Christie attack. And label Vivek Ramaswamy as fake Vivek. Vivek the fake is one of it out of this memo. This is embarrassing for Ron DeSantis, quite frankly. Again, I'll say what I said last night. He needs to get out of the way. He needs to let President Trump do his thing. I don't understand why so many people are getting into this race. Well, there is another candidate now who is getting into this race, the third of Indian origin. Take a look at his campaign video.
Today, I am here to announce my intention to seek the Republican nomination for President of the United States. My name is Hirsch Singh, a lifelong Republican and an America First constitutional carry and pro-life conservative.
All right. He is also the self-described only pure blood candidate in the race because he's unvaxxed. I love that about him, okay? Talking about GOP candidate for now, President of the United States, who describes himself as Trump on steroids. Hirsch Singh is with us. Hirsch, welcome to the program.
Great to be on, Grant. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. So I told you I'm going to ask you some tough questions. I think everybody has a right to run in a race. My stance is we really need to give President Trump the platform here. The attacks on him is the only guy that can stop the Democrats. Why do you think, Hirsch, that that's a false statement that I'm making and you should get in the way of President Trump?
No. First of all, Grant, I'm an America First MAGA conservative who has been the loudest advocate for the MAGA conservative agenda. I have supported the pro-life agenda. I've actually subpoenaed big pharma. I've actually been one of the loudest voices for election integrity. I sued up to the U.S. Supreme Court prior to the 2020 November election. I have actually been one of the loudest MAGA conservative voices. In the GOP database, I'm labeled as a hard Republican. In Democrat leaders, they call me Trump on steroids.
Hirsch, I love it. And you're right to me then. MAGA is Make America Great Again. President Trump coined that phrase. You're running against President Trump, so you can be MAGA all you want, but you're trying to take out the big guy. Why?
The establishment always has multiple candidates. We need to learn from them. They've always had multiple candidates. I amplify the MAGA conservative agenda by making sure I'm on the stage. It's very important that we show that they can't just villainize one individual and say the entire movement is worth nothing. I've been America First from the beginning, and we destroy the establishment's agenda by having multiple MAGA conservatives up there that destroy the establishment nonsense.
All right. Money plays a big role. All of these candidates are going to take away money from President Trump. You got a lot of candidates in this race now. You're not concerned about any of that, about taking away from resources that Republicans need to move forward?
America has more than enough money. It just doesn't get spent correctly. And if you only have establishment Republicans out there that are destroying the America First agenda, then that's what's siphoning away the money. Okay, you need the MAGA conservative message to be amplified and to allow that money to guide the discourse in the right direction. That's why I'm very confident me being on the stage helps the MAGA conservative and the America First agenda.
All right, I do believe that in primaries, candidates can make the ultimate candidate better. And again, I want to say everyone has a right to run. I'm going to ask you, though, you ran for New Jersey governor for the Republican nomination for a primary 2017, 2021, a House seat in 2018, and a Senate seat in 2020. For the Republican nomination in New Jersey, you couldn't get the nomination. How do you get the nomination for President of the United States across the country?
In 2020, we had 4 conservative counties going against 17 Chris Christie-controlled Republican counties, and we were within 1% of winning. And that's why we had to sue all the way up to the U.S. Supreme Court, and the U.S. Supreme Court abdicated their responsibilities by not taking up that case. Without a single county supporting me in 2021, we got over 20% of the vote. If I was the Republican nominee, there would be a landslide Republican victory across this entire nation, up and down the ticket. And that's the reason why we're running, to make sure that the establishment establishment cannot destroy the authenticity of the MAGA conservative message. And that's why I'm here. And that's why I want everyone who's watching at home, go to HirschSing.com, HirschSing.com, get to know me and help out, because we need to make sure America goes in the right direction. I've been a strong supporter of President Trump, and the only way we're going to make this go in the right direction is to have a strong MAGA conservative message on the stage, not just one person against a mob.
All right. So is there anybody else in the race you like? You like Vivek? I like Vivek Ramaswamy a lot. I like Larry Elder a lot. Those are the only two that I really like in the race.
I think the history on Mr. Ramaswamy is very questionable. He never voted for President Trump. He's never voted in a Republican primary, whether it was 2016 or 2020. I've never heard of him during those years. And, I think you have to vet someone's history prior to giving them the keys to, the most powerful country in the world. And I think it's very unfortunate that he doesn't have any record that we can really vouch for. So I think it's also, he's been on the wrong side of Taiwan, China issue. He's been on the wrong side of January 6th. Clearly he's on the wrong side of President Trump in the past. So I think that it's very clear that he is not a MAGA conservative. And we need to make sure that we only have people that are MAGA conservatives that are amplifying the right message and on the right side of every issue.
All right, so this is one of the reasons why I bring you on, because you brought me new information. I didn't know you didn't vote in a Republican primary. I think that is important to show you got some kind of history with our party if you want to be president of the United States and lead it. And so this is the kind of discussion that needs to be had. Hirsch Sing, I appreciate you. Go ahead.
Thank you very much, Grant. I just want to add that per Ohio law, he's not even a registered Republican because he's never voted in a Republican primary. So, that's why I think it's very important, and I'm looking forward to coming back. I appreciate what you're doing for the movement, sir. And, we're going to make sure America goes in the right direction because we're going to take responsibility for it ourselves.
All right. I'm not just saying this. You sound like a bright guy, and I know you're committed. I don't question your commitment to conservatism. I just get confused sometimes by people like Mike Pence and Nikki Haley that have no shot of winning. They get in the race and can get in the way. But Hirsch Sing, you got a right to bring your voice to this table, and I'll give you a platform here to talk when we can. And I appreciate you coming on the program.
Thank you very much. Mike Pence betrayed President Trump and the American people on January 6th, and that's what we need to make sure never happens ever again.
Amen. I appreciate you coming on the program. I'm a little confused though how you're not betraying President Trump when you're running against the guy. But anyway, okay. President Trump and Seinfeld. Yes, Seinfeld. They go together pretty well. I'll show you what I mean next.
Here are some of the headlines we are featuring today from your favorite news outlets at offthepress.com. Emails dating back to Joe Biden's tenure as vice president show that he used private accounts to forward or discuss government business with his son Hunter, whose international business dealings helped enrich the Biden family. The abuse of marijuana and hallucinogens, as well as binge drinking, reached all-time highs among Americans ages 35 to 50, according to a new report from the National Institutes of Health. After shunning any responsibility for failing to activate warning sirens during the devastating Lahaina wildfires, the administrator of Maui County Emergency Management has finally resigned. And Project Veritas, known for its groundbreaking investigative journalism and sting operations, reportedly is on the verge of collapse after laying off much of its staff this week. This comes just months after the company forced out its founder, James O'Keefe. For stories like these and more updates all day long from your favorite news outlets, go to offthepress.com.
They want to ban straws.
Content like that, so they want to ban straws. All right, folks, that's going to do it for us. No paper straws for me. You don't drink a Tito's on the rocks with paper straws. That's where I'm going on a Friday night to kick back and relax after a long week, and then we do it all over again on Monday. The fight continues. Gather some strength for Saturday and Sunday, and then we're back at it. Don't forget my podcast, GrantStinchfield.com. Give me a follow. We'll see you later, folks. Thank you so much. Stinchfield's Army rolls.
Live from Studio 6B on a Friday night. Sound Like the Blues shirt is on. Ready for that? We'll talk about that later. Of course, our friends from Birch Gold. But Friday night, you know what that means. It could get out of hand and it could get out of hand quick. What even is that coming up tonight? So you know that's going to...
Hammer time!
Hammer time. 2 a.m. Naked Hammer Fight Club coming up tonight. Should we change? No, we can't change the name. What even is that? It's always the name.
No, that's your new favorite segment. Always.
Yeah,
come on.
Exactly. So that's coming up tonight. What is your... first of all, Mr. Delgado, how are you?
I am good. How about you?
Very good. Looking forward to a fun Friday night. Today was one of those days that it was like video clip day. When I was looking for news and stuff, I just kept seeing little clips, not long, but just little short things that I just kind of either laughed at, shook my head at, or thought we should play that to talk about. So, that was kind of what I thought about the news today. How about you?
Same way. I see a lot of stuff out there. Hopefully we can get to as much of it as possible, because some of it is just plain stupid.
Okay.
So that'll be fun. Plus,
speaking of plain stupid, what's your what even is that about tonight? What's your what even is that about tonight?
Well, let's see. What's the best way to describe this?
I guess that's it?
That's it.
Okay. And I actually know what you're referring to, because I actually saw that clip. So.
Thank you.
Slick Rick's going to do some sports. Slick, how are you?
I have no idea what you men are talking about. So I'm looking forward to that. And I'm doing all right on a Friday night. Big D, ready to rock and roll with you guys.
All right, Slick, I like that jacket. What would you call that on the right side there on the, lapel or whatever that? What is that, a little flowery?
Yeah, little flowers. Some people think it's marijuana, but it's definitely not that, trust me. No, it's a nice little, it's the olive branch, Big D.
Oh, okay.
I'm extending the olive branch.
I'd like to extend an olive branch to you as well, Slick Rick.
I got some new boots on tonight. Whoa! Wait till you see those.
Wow.
Look out. I promise you.
All right, check out Instagram during the first commercial break. That'll be the place where it is. So that's where we'll post that during the break. So you can check that on Instagram at LFS6B. That'll be the place to go.
Wow.
So
I didn't notice them until just the
okay, so Delgado's got a sneak peek.
Okay.
All right, let's do a couple of these quick little things that caught my attention today. This first one, so Biden's up at Camp David. At least he's not back at the beach. I guess that's somewhat of an improvement.
Yeah, he's got his clothes.